All right, I should be live. Let me just check one thing first. Okay, let's see if that's any better. I'm looking over at my other screen here. I'm just trying to make sure it actually goes live because I had big problems with StreamYard last time. It looks like it's on a. Or no. All right, so I think it's all right. I don't know for sure. I was kind of looking at it on the other screen here. I'm just gonna roll with it. We'll figure this out later. Uh, just a couple things that I'm gonna rant about a little bit because I was spending way too much time on fucking Twitter today, and I saw a lot of stupid crap that it was kind of. It's really two main things. You can kind of tell from the title. Um, the first thing, the MAGA people. I'll start with them. The MAGA people are going absolutely bananas, freaking crazy. I mean, they were already like wackos and strange. And whenever I say MAGA, I don't just mean every Republican or conservative. So don't get like your panties in a twist. I talk about, I don't even mean just like every Trump voter. I'm talking about the diehard ones that wear his merch and are weird, like the people that dress up in costumes. It's a large portion of the Republican Party at this point. And then there's a whole spectrum. There's a massive spectrum all the way from like enthusiastically supporting him to just like clown show level. I don't understand where this person came from. Like, there's that drag queen. There's like, if you haven't heard of this sounds like something I'm making up. It's not. There's someone whose like whole personality is that they're a Trump supporting drag queen. That's it. That's like their whole. That's their whole character. So it's all these kind of wacky people like the QAnon shaman, and then like Margie Taylor Greene, and all the people you see in the hats, the red hats and stuff. All those guys, they're losing. They're just going ape shit out on Twitter. There's like all the fanboys too. Just kind of the commentators, the Twitter commentators, YouTube commentator, conservative people. They've all lost their minds. Trump, in their view, is like a god now. And, we've said that before. He was already like deified by these people. Now it's like, it's essentially literal. Like it's just like, I mean, they're not literally calling him God, but they are saying he is like God's chosen one. And there was always people that said that, but it was like a smaller fringe of the weird MAGA bro movement. Now it's pretty much all of them. I think I heard even the Daily Wire guys, which they're on a kind of a spectrum too, but they're not even like, I think I heard Ben Shapiro say that essentially, not in so many words, but basically he said God saved Trump's life in order to like, is some part of a divine plan to save America. I don't know. Like, it broke their brains. And I heard some of the other ones saying it. I think Michael Knowles said that. He was always kind of out there, though. He's a weird guy. But yeah, I don't understand this. I don't understand this. This is like miracle talk, that this was like a literal miracle. Not the way I think I called it that. I said it was miraculous he didn't get hit. Obviously, I didn't mean like a literal, actual miracle. Like angels actually descended from heaven to save the man. Apparently, that's what people on Twitter think. That's what a lot of the MAGA people think. And they think, I'll get to the other stuff they've been up to in a minute. I'm just going to hit this point real quick. It's crazy to me to call something like this a miracle. I don't like, do you know how often people miss their targets when they shoot? How often they get like very close, but still miss? That happens all the damn time. Like, have you ever shot a gun? You ever been to a shooting range? That happens all the time. How close when someone gets really close to the bullseye, but just barely misses it all the time, and those targets are not moving. So, okay, there's that, and then there's the other part of this, which is like you're calling it a miracle. You did they forget that a man was shot and killed? Like you're telling me God moved the bullet out of the way, but he couldn't move it somewhere harmless. He had to move it into an innocent man's head. That's where the bullet had to go. Really? Like if we're gonna do a miracle, if there's gonna be like divine intervention to save someone's life, why not just move it somewhere harmless? Why not have it hit the podium or something like that, or go into the into a bleacher? Why did it have to go into a fireman's head? I don't understand that part of the miracle. Why did two other people have to get shot? I don't get this. I don't understand. What the hell kind of a miracle is that? Why are these miracles when people get hyped up about some miracle or something like this? It's always something. It's always something that's just a horrible tragedy that like could have been worse. It's always that. It's always like, oh, there was some horrific car crash and like a family of 5 is like slaughtered and their bodies are mangled and they're all dead, but their 18-month-old baby survived. And people say, "Oh, isn't this a miracle?" It's like it doesn't. Yeah, well, I don't know. I don't know if that's what I'd call it. It's just a tragedy that could have been a lot worse. So anyway, I that kind of talk always just flabbergasts me. I just like I'm floored when I hear people saying stuff like that. I don't get it. Like you realize that things like there's the 2 points to it. The one, it's still a horrible thing, and then the first one, which is just it's really not that like crazy of a thing to have happened. I mean, it's crazy in like the news sense of it. It's crazy in the sense that this was like a massive security failing. If anything, it's like it's a miracle that the shooter was able to get up there and to take this shot at him. We could call that a miracle. It was exceptionally unlikely. Was there like intervention on the part of Satan to try and like fuck up the Secret Service? Like what I don't understand. Are we just gonna say only some unlikely events qualify? I don't get it. I feel like it's just an attempt to say, Trump is chosen by God. That's basically what they're saying. And then there's all the reactions to the people that have been like clowning on them and shitting on them and making jokes about the assassination attempt. Destiny, I think I talked about him. He took a really harsh stance, said some things I probably wouldn't have said. But it wasn't like a violation of free speech. He wasn't calling for violence. He was saying he didn't give a shit or he made some joke. I don't really know. People tried to get him. He did. He lost like sponsors or something, and people were trying to get him in trouble. The worst one I saw was Libs of TikTok, who normally, they do stuff. It's one thing if that account, Libs of TikTok, I think it's, who is it? It's some like strange Hebrew sounding name, like Haya Raychek, I think is the real person's name. I don't know. Anyway, their normal kind of MO is they'll go find somebody, like, and maybe they've done this before and I just never noticed. I don't see every damn thing they post, but the stuff they would do before, or that woman or whatever would do before, Libs of TikTok, is like go find some weirdo teaching in an elementary school and teaching them like bizarre shit that they shouldn't be, like bizarre leftist shit or like weird neo pronouns, and then say like, hey, should this person be teaching this in this school? It'd be stuff like that. And I think that's acceptable. Like that's totally understandable. You don't have like a right to privacy or like your freedom of speech or whatever when it comes to what you teach in a public school. That has always blown my mind when the left tried to make that like a free speech issue. That's not free speech. Like what we teach in public classrooms is not free speech. However, the thing they were doing today, or that I saw them do, I guess maybe it was the other day, I don't know. They just went out and found some random old lady. I'm not even shitting you. It wasn't, I guess it wasn't Libs of TikTok. They amplified it, but it was some other guy and other MAGA people sharing this around. Just literally a random old woman. This was not, as far as I know, she was no one of any, she worked at Home Depot, okay? Some lady who's a cashier at Home Depot. They found something she said on the internet. I don't know exactly what she said. I think she said she wished the gunman had not missed or had hit him or something like that. And they went out and found this woman and then like harassed her and filmed her and spread her all over the internet to the point where she got fired. She lost her job over this, which is just wild to me. Like these were like the anti-cancel culture people, and that's like one of the worst cancel culture things I think I've ever seen. Because I guess what's their point that uh, someone who doesn't like Donald Trump isn't allowed to have a job? Is that what they think? Because I mean, that's what they did basically. If they're what she said isn't a violation of free speech, wishing death on someone, wishing someone was dead. You're allowed to say that in the United States. Last time I checked, uh, we don't have thought police here. I didn't think so. It wasn't illegal. It's basically probably just a sentiment of I really don't like him. Essentially, what she needs to be fired for that? Just some random lady who tweeted something out that I don't even know. Was it a joke? Was it hyperbole? We have no idea. So that was completely egregious, and like that pissed me off. Yeah, it was deranged, and it wasn't just her. Like there's, I that one set me up. I kind of understand more when it happens to people like Destiny because he's like a public figure, and if you don't like something he's saying, that is like his, he's putting it all out there. He's a public figure. He's throwing all this shit out there for people to respond to react to, and he's massive. He's like a millionaire, so like he'll be all right. He didn't lose his Home Depot job. And then I guess that's enough about that. There's really not a lot more to say about that other than like what is wrong with you people? What the fuck is wrong with you? Like whatever. It also, I think it's the hypocrisy. Whenever you had all these people whining about cancel culture, oh, this guy got in trouble or something because he was wearing a MAGA hat or whatever. I don't ever want to hear them crying about that again. Jesus. It's other people too. I've seen this going on with a number of people where I don't know, it'll just be random people. Random people. That's the only one where I saw it in a video and I know that for sure they got fired. The other ones, it's if they didn't actually get them fired or nothing happened to them, I'd have no way of knowing because it's just literally like a face and a name. The other fucked up thing about doing that kind of stuff to random people, randos, is you don't know if you're getting the right person. You don't need, it's so easy to screw with people, and you could, if you wanted, just to be a troll, just to be an asshole, and there are people like this. You could just make fake accounts of people and of real people. You know what I mean? Get a face, get a name, put it out there, and then just take screenshots and then start sharing it around MAGA Twitter, saying, "Oh, look who said they wanted Trump to die. Let's harass them and get them fired." And there's people that are fucked up enough to do that. So, yeah, you got to be careful with that. And I honestly, I don't even know if that woman in the Home Depot thing said it. I assume she did, or she wouldn't have been fired. I don't know. I didn't bother really verifying it. That's all what they believe happened. So anyway, that's enough of that. Those are my two main MAGA rants right there. And then the last thing, I guess it's not really a rant. It's just I think Biden's done. I think he's going to drop out. I don't know how he couldn't. Like before, it seemed really unlikely. It just because he was saying he wasn't going to do it. As far as I know, that's still his standing position on it. However, some things have changed. So there's reporting, a lot of it, like a monsoon of reports and leaks that have come out. And the polling is horrendous. Like if he stays in, I'm very convinced he's going to lose. I don't know how anyone couldn't see that at this point. It was already horrible. And then, Trump has like his Captain America moment where he narrowly misses an assassination attempt and then gets like an amazing photo opportunity. And they have this like huge party over at the RNC and people are going nuts. I Yeah, I mean, and Biden's continued to like fumble around and fuck up and like barely be able to talk. I think today what was it? You forget Lloyd Austin's name. I think he just called him like that black guy or something. Like literally, I think he said that black man that I appointed Secretary of Defense. It was just like, what, dude, bro, come on. And he was confusing Kamala Harris and Trump, and it's just been worse and worse. Basically, nobody thinks he's mentally fit to be president. I forget what the last poll I saw was. I want to say it was more than half of the Democrats don't think which even seems low to me. I think I saw one that was higher than that. I think that was right after the debate. Um, but of the Democrats, don't think he's mentally fit to actually just do the job. and that's I gotta think. I don't know what the other people are thinking. I guess they're just thinking I don't want to say anything bad about him in a poll because I want him to win because I don't like Trump. I don't know. It is kind of crazy though. He seems completely screwed, and then all these Democrats are apparently telling him to his face, like, or not to his face, maybe over the phone because he's got COVID now. I forgot about that. He contracted COVID, so he literally might die. I mean, probably not. He'll probably be all right since he's got the vaccines and the best healthcare in the world. But he's not going to be going anywhere or doing anything for a little while. COVID is rough on those old people, really rough on them. So, from what I've seen in all these reports that are being leaked out, which I'm guessing is from aides on the phone calls, I don't know who else would be leaking this unless it's literally like Pelosi and Obama. But that would be I wouldn't think they would do that unless they're really just like I just want them gone, and I don't want it to look like I'm saying this publicly. I want it to look like I'm saving it privately. I don't know who's leaking it, but apparently Pelosi basically told him that he's going to lose. Obama kind of told him that he's worried or concerned about his viability. I think, which is like understatement of the year. And then there's just the general. Adam Schiff just came out publicly and just said, "I want him to drop out," which he's like a major figure in the Democratic Party. So a lot of others have come out and publicly said it. Congressmen, the base of the party doesn't want him to run. There's like 2/3 of the Democratic Party. I saw in a poll just recently because I was arguing with somebody about this on Twitter who seemed unaware of that any of this was happening, or I don't know. I don't know like how this could have slipped past anybody that Biden is in like completely dire straits. 2/3 of the Democrats want him to drop out. And then there's all the like the actual election polls in the swing states. Like there's states that were pretty solidly Democrat before that Trump might win now. So it's not just that Trump's overwhelmingly likely to win. He's actually looking more and more likely like he would win huge, like in a freaking landslide. And that seems to be what the question is now. Like, how big does he win? Is it like he just barely kind of comes through, wins some of the swing states, or does he start knocking over states that like New Mexico? That's unthinkable. He could win New Mexico. I don't know. There's polls that say it's competitive, so that's crazy. And then there's like the betting odds. That's probably one of the best predictors of all this stuff because people are actually looking into this and putting money on shit. And the betting odds, I think I saw, but I don't remember where I saw this. On Twitter, maybe. They had him at like a 70-30 that he's going to drop out. So people are like putting money where their mouth is, putting bets on this, placing bets on this, and they're saying, yeah, it's like the odds are like 70% that he's going to drop out, 30% that he stays in. That's probably what I think at this point. It's just so wild that would happen. It would be a crazy thing to happen. Nothing like that's ever happened, at least in our lifetimes. Probably. I don't know, unless you're like some ancient geezer. And I don't know. I don't know what happened in the 1940s. So I guess there was, it wouldn't have been the 40s. It would have been, I don't know. Did something funky happen with with LBJ. I don't know. It's neither here nor there. It would be wild. They would have like an open, what do you call it? Open convention. The delegates would get to argue and decide who the candidate is. And ironically, they'd probably end up picking a pretty good candidate because it would be the party leadership essentially doing it, which they're smarter than the voters are. I hate to say it, but it's just kind of true. They'd probably pick a candidate that I like better than the voters would. I've seen people saying, well, why wouldn't it just be Kamala? Some people are saying it would have to be Kamala. That's not really true. I think they're saying that because it would be easier. I think she would be able to use the funding, but I really don't see why it would be so difficult for them to recover the funds and transfer them to some third party and then get them to whoever the new candidate is. I don't know why that's so difficult. Some people have said it would be. There's, I guess, something with the ballots. I mean, maybe their names are already on the ballots. I don't know how that works, but I don't know. I've heard a lot of people talking about we just want an open primary because they don't like Kamala either. Kamala's kind of tainted by Joe Biden, and she's not. Her poll numbers are bad too, so I don't think they want her. They want somebody who's like completely fresh. And there was people saying, well, if it wasn't Kamala, there'd be a rebellion. The African Americans and the women would like rebel, and none of them would vote for the Democrat if that happened. They'd be so upset. It was like, really? I don't think like, you know, black people and women care that much about Kamala Harris. Like, is she like wildly popular with them? I've never heard this before. I don't know. Maybe they're saying like the symbolism of it would upset them. I don't know. I don't think really anyone would care. I think there'd be people that would want her gone too. Otherwise, they wouldn't even be. If she was popular, if she was like a strong candidate, I don't even think this would be a question. I don't even think this would be up in the air. I think she would have already taken over. Joe Biden would have just handed it to her if he thought she could win. I think, you know, maybe he really wanted to stick around. Maybe he's like actually delusional and thinks that he could do this or that there's nothing wrong with him. I've heard people saying that there's reports like that where he seemed to not understand until like very recently that like how he looks to people and that he's perceived as having been a massive failure and a fuck up. And or he didn't know about the polling. I don't know, because whenever people would bring that up to him, he'd just be like, "That's not true. I don't believe that," or that's not real. It was just like, it was weird. And I heard some people saying, certain reports, that he was in basically his family was like kind of acting like gatekeepers and not letting a lot of negative info get to him or trying to like keep him in the race, which I don't believe that's, if that ever was happening, it's not happening now, because you're not going to be able to keep people like Pelosi or Obama from him. And I think his aides have kind of, they must be telling him that like, we're doing really crappy. Like, that would be complete negligence. You would be failing at your job if you were just lying, because like that's something, if you're running a campaign, you need to be aware. Even if you're actually trying to win, you need to be aware how bad you're doing or how good you're doing, so you know like how to fix shit. And I think that's the other problem with this. I don't see any way that any of this stuff is fixable for him, because the things people are upset about, they're not like changeable. Joe Biden's not going to turn into like a 45-year-old. He's not going to, that's not happening. So what could change? Could Trump do something that's going to like just make it's going to piss everybody off? It seems like that already would have happened. It's kind of, we're running out of time for something like that. I don't know. Like his record, there's nothing he's going to do to like massively improve. He came out with this like student loan thing. He's going to try and give away more money, essentially. I don't think anyone's going to care about that. I don't see him doing anything to change any of this. So I'm fairly certain, I think, personally, he's going to drop out. I think I said tomorrow, this weekend sometime. I don't know. I'll say 70-30. That sounds like a good split there. 30% chance he stays in, which is just, I can't imagine why he would do that. If I was in his position, I would drop out. I'm not a politician. I'm not him, so I guess doesn't count for a lot. But I don't get it. I don't get what there is to be gained when you're like this certain you're gonna lose, and everyone else is, and your own party doesn't want you to run. Why would you do it? Like if you, I don't understand. Other than he just actually wants to be president and like really thinks he's doing a good job, and is maybe he thinks he could beat Trump because the polls don't matter at all, and people are going to come back over to his side just because they don't like him so much, and he's the only person on the ticket. Maybe that's what he's depending on, but it just seems wild to me. If you drop out, for one thing, just on a pure like physical level, I can't imagine someone that old actually wants to do that job and doesn't just want to be like, I don't know, sipping lemonade at the beach and chilling out, kicking your feet up, relaxing. Why would you put yourself through that? Like you're gonna drive yourself into the grave. That's an insanely stressful job, insanely highly demanding job. I can't imagine anyone wanting to do it in their 80s. But okay, let's say he does. Does he not? If he dropped out, and Trump still won, does that look bad on him? I don't think it does. Maybe that's something he would be worried about. Maybe he would feel personally guilty, or he's worried that maybe he thinks he really does just have the best chance, because there was some polling that kind of showed that up until very recently. There were some polls that showed he had a better chance than the other kind of major contenders. I don't think that's true anymore. I have seen several now where Newsom was ahead of him, Kamala was ahead of him, or when I say ahead of him, I mean stood a better chance of defeating Donald Trump. People kept throwing Michelle Obama's name out there. I don't know why. She was like wildly ahead of him. She was like, I don't understand this. I don't get this. Maybe it's a weird polling thing, but she was like, I think I saw a poll where she was beating Trump by like 65%. Why is she like what? Why would people want her? Just some random. She was the president's wife. I don't get it. But it seems like she wants nothing to do with this. So I don't think that's happening. But yeah, so maybe there was that. Maybe initially he really thought, well, I don't have a good chance, but I've got a better chance than the other contenders. I don't think. Maybe I believe people are explaining to him that's no longer true. I don't know. He said if he had a medical condition, he might drop out. I assume he didn't mean something like COVID, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I think, like I've said this before, it's kind of on a ticking timer. You don't have an infinite amount of time. At some point, he's locked in. I mean, not completely. He basically always, I believe, would have the option to step off, even like up into October, all the way up to the election day, and just let Kamala take it. But if you want someone besides Kamala, I think that's really where there's kind of a ticking clock. They have to do it before the convention, obviously. They need some time if they're going to have. I've heard people talking about a mini primary. I don't know what they mean. I guess they would want to do some debates maybe with some of these other people, and then I assume it would just be the delegates voting. You couldn't have the actual voters pick it. That'd be unimaginable that you'd be able to throw something like that together in a couple weeks. I don't think you could do it, but part of the reason I think it'll happen tomorrow or this weekend is, for one thing, there was another another news story where they were saying that there was Democrats, some of the ranking Democrats, saying they think it was likely to happen this weekend. So there's that. My thinking was just that it would be after the RNC, and so you let them go ahead and like blow their whole load all over Joe Biden and all that shit, and let them get all of their negative attacks out and their rants and have their giant party and all the shit talk they do about him is basically wasted if immediately after that he just says, "Oh, it's somebody else." In certain ways, I think this could be really good for them. Doing a last minute switch like this, they've exhausted all their ammunition and all of their planning on Joe Biden. It's obviously not ideal because you're going to have to start over kind of and introduce some new person. But in a certain way, that actually would be beneficial, I think, in this election, given that Trump is almost like a very unpopular incumbent as well. Because he has a record you can attack. He's got a lot of flaws. If you just threw someone that people didn't know a lot about, that they didn't really have strong opinions about up there, like what I feel like a lot of the kind of independent swing voter types are going to go to that person if they just know basically nothing about them. they're just like, well, I know all this stuff I don't really like about Trump, and yeah, maybe I'll go for this person. I think it could work, but we'll see. I don't know. It'll be crazy. It'll, in certain ways, almost be unbelievable, even if it does happen, just because, like I said, never happened before in our lives. I'll watch it. I'll be fascinated to see how that process plays out, to see if this works. This is such a wild election. This is the craziest election, like bar none, of our, not just of our lives, of like the past. I don't even know, 150 years. Well, like what election would have been more crazy than this? I guess the one that caused the Civil War. So there was that, I guess. So but from like modern elections onward, this is so weird. There's so much weird crap going on. You got two of the oldest people in history. Donald Trump, who's already like a kind of a bizarre figure, a strange, really weird political figure, just a celebrity. The fact that he almost got killed. They're both former presidents at this point. And if one of them just steps out and he's just replaced at the last minute, that'd be nuts. But like I said, I think there's definitely a strong likelihood of it happening. Doesn't mean it's for certain going to happen. As far as I'm aware, he's still said he wants to stay in, but it seemed like the amount of pressure is just so overwhelming. I think that's what makes me think it's probably going to happen. Just because there's so many people, like they would have damaged him so unrepairably. I can't imagine going back on this, I guess is my thing. Like, what do you do when, like, how do these people like do a 180 on this? All the media kind of turned against him. I don't know. Like, when you've had all of these, like, are they going to come back out and endorse him once they've already come out and said, we don't think you should be doing this job? I guess they're not all saying that. Some of them are just saying, we just don't want you to run. Not necessarily that they think he shouldn't be, that he's like mentally incompetent to be president. Definitely a lot of them are saying they think he should drop out. And I guess that's sort of a strategic thing. And they could say, well, I thought someone else would be better, but he's still better than him. So we'll do this. But it's just, this has been so unbelievably damaging. The response to the past like couple weeks here, the response from Democrats and the media. So I don't know. We'll see. Those are just kind of the big things I saw today. I was reacting to, but this will probably be the last one for a while. I know I keep saying that, and then I keep seeing stuff or something happens, and I'm just like, oh my god. Maybe I'll do it again. I guess if he's just like gone. It would be handing him the presidency on a silver platter. It's absolutely shameful. I don't see how. I don't see how if he's gonna win anyway. I mean, you could say that it's just like it would end up. I don't know. Like, what do you think? Biden has like the best chance to win out of every other Democrat. I don't. Yeah, I don't see how. I guess that could be true, but it seems like it's already. I don't know. Like, have you seen the polling? It's a nightmare. He's winning in all the swing states, and he doesn't need to win all of those states to win the election. So if he only wins some of the swing states that he's polling ahead in, he'll win. and you're starting to see the other states shift too. So unless the theory is just that like people are going to come back to Biden because they realize like what's coming or something, the gravity of the situation hits them on election day. Anything's possible, I guess. I think if I was going to put it, like, what odds do I think Biden has of winning as of this moment, given the polls and what they look like? I'm never going to say zero. I don't think I'll ever say zero on, especially like this. It's not like, you know, I guess I would say zero if it was like he was winning by like, if the polls were saying it was like 70-30, then I would probably say that. But it's not like completely out of the realm of possibility. So I don't know. Maybe one in 50. So what is that? Like a 2% chance? I might go as high as a 5%. I don't. Yeah, probably not. Probably 2%. I'll go with 2%. And I guess like I've said before, stuff can always change. I do think it's interesting that all of these conversations with Biden are leaked. Most likely increase. Yeah, I think it's that, and there was people catching a lot of shit over the disaster that this is turning into, and so I think it's aides and stuff who they don't want to be blamed for the failures, so they're kind of leaking out like, hey, look, this is what we've told him and what we're doing, and he doesn't want to hear it, or we can't talk to him and advise him because Hunter and Jill won't let us, or whatever the other weird stuff we've seen. And it could just be straight up leaks to put more pressure on him. That could be. I think the leaks are all true. I had someone trying to tell me today they didn't believe these were true. Like these leaks were just like made up. So I don't think that's the case, because there's things you would expect to see if that were true. For one thing, like people, whoever's involved in it would be coming out and saying, that's not true. That didn't happen at all. Like that phone call never happened. I never said anything like that. Like Biden would be saying it, and Obama and Pelosi and whoever else the leak is about. Some of them are vague enough to where I guess they could be. Like there's somewhere it'll just say top Democrats are having conversations about X, Y, and Z. That's kind of vague. I don't know. Maybe that's made up, but you would expect that. I think the other thing is that it's from sources that are trusted enough. So like we don't know who leaks it, right? But the people reporting it do. They have verified. They're not going to report just some random anonymous like thing. And this is stuff being in the mainstream news, and it's coming from multiple news sources. So if you're going to have that happen, the reporters who are publishing this shit, they know the person. They know this is someone who could very well be privy to this, and there's every reason to think that they would have been in on this phone call or this conversation, that it's someone that would know this. So it would have to be that person just lying. So the reporters, and the reason they're going to verify all that is because they're not going to they don't want to put up something that turns out not to be true, and where people just come out and are like, that's just completely made up and a lie. There's no major news media source wants to have that happen ever and have to issue a retraction. They never want that. And so if it's happening from multiple sources, either it originally came from one source and the other news sites are just reporting like, AP has a source that said this, or it's the same source repeating it to multiple reporters. I think that's probably what's happening. You'll be able to tell a difference if you read the article and it just says like, they'll tell you what it is. They'll tell you it's our sources, or they'll say it's sources from whoever, NBC, AP, New York Times, Washington Post, whatever. So I do think they're real. But anyway, that's enough of that. I've been on for longer than I even meant to for this. I just meant to get some of this stuff about, doxing grandma off my chest mainly. That was the main thing. I was just like, I can't believe people did that. That was gross. And I was kind of thinking about that other thing too. That's pretty crazy. But all right, I guess I'll catch you later. I might do a stream if this actually comes to fruition and Biden drops out like over the weekend or maybe next week. I feel like I think I said if it doesn't happen this week, it probably wouldn't happen. But every day that goes by, it becomes in some ways less likely. In other ways, it seems more likely because there's more pressure building. At some point, there's going to be a breaking point though, where it's like he's just got to stay in. There's just not enough time, and we'll see. We'll see what happens. So, catch you later. Have a good night.